And this existential crisis went really far. I mean, like many of us probably, but I tried a lot of drugs. I tried some like extended period of time just trying to find, yeah, find the answer, like solve this huge void inside of myself, right? But in one sense, the main feeling I had for 10 or 15 years was postponing. I felt everything I was doing was just postponing the actual face to face with what I was looking for during for this life, right? So we do I felt like doing all kinds of stuff just to postpone the
Mm,
moment where I will have to face the fact that no, I have to go and just surrender everything as much as I can and just make this kind of bet with God. And that's exactly what I did. I said, if you exist, you have till India to show your face. And then I promise, like, I promise, but I promise absolutely that I will give you at least this life. I can't promise for the next one because I have no idea what's going on afterwards, but this life will be 100% dedicated to you if you show
mm.
your face. And if you don't show your face, I don't ever want to hear about God anymore. Like I want to completely remove it from my life, even this very idea. And I mean, I was hoping if you use numbers, I was probably hoping for 60 and I got 70,000, right? Like I got way
Wow.
above any of my expectations. I mean, honestly speaking, it's what I yeah, the culmination points of my pilgrimage in the desert in Iran was just I'm still flying because of it, you know.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Live from Ormond Beach, Florida. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host. I was going to say co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Stuba Das. He's not here. It's interview day, and we have a special interview coming on. But before we introduce our special guest, good morning, Miss Mara. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thanks.
What episode number is this?
1440.
Ooh, 1440. We should do something for 1450. It's sort of a special number.
Maybe.
What do you think? I'm live in Florida. I've been teaching in Ormond Beach, Florida. I come down here regularly. This is where I first met House of Pain, one of our regular Zoomers, and a lot of people actually down here. It's sort of like a little bhakti hub, and I don't know if I told the story about my son and his cabin. Did I tell that story in the air?
I think
It just
so.
may be worth telling again.
Yeah, that's okay. You can tell it again.
My son lives down here with this really nice devotee family. He's 17, he's a senior. And the hurricane, came through. And they didn't get majorly hit, but there's tons of trees down everywhere and brush down. And so he stays in a little cabin in their backyard. He sleeps there. He mainly stays inside, but he was going to bed. And then the mother at the last moment, nice devotee lady, just said, "Why don't you come inside tonight?" And he was like, "No, I'll be okay." She said, "Just come inside." So he came inside. 2 hours later, after he went to bed, a massive oak tree demolished the cabin. Demolished. It's like, out of all the places to land, it just like squashed it flat. We're going to call that a Krishna miracle.
Well, Dunya yesterday was telling Kastuba and I think it was before the show got started, that when Madhurika said, Rocco, maybe you should sleep inside tonight, Rocco said, no, I'll be fine. And went to sleep in the cabin and then heard the creaking of the trees. And, I was like, maybe I should sleep inside, and then went back inside. But when Madhurika woke up in the morning and saw all of the damage, she didn't realize that Rocco was asleep on the couch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which must have given her a heart attack.
Yeah. It's tricky raising teenagers, isn't it?
Yes.
It's tricky. Mara. uh, Anyway, we have a special guest today, but before we do, Miss Mary, you got any announcements for everybody?
I do. We should mention there's no show tomorrow.
There's no show tomorrow. I'm traveling back from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, we're down to the last few days before our Wisdom of the Sages autumn retreat here at Super Soul Farm,
Is it
October
sold out?
11th through 13th. People
Is
can
it-
still, there's 1 day passes available, and I think there might be 1 bed left.
One bed left.
Yeah,
All right.
go to wisdomofthesages.com to register today.
No trees will fall upon you if you come. And we have a special, our hearts are completely warm because we've been on the edge of our seat with Karuna and Tulsi and their family have just got out of Lebanon because they started hearing bombs falling close to where they were in Beirut. And we've been like tracking them. Did they get on the plane yet? Because they're coming and they flew to Montreal and they made it safe and they landed. So lots of prayers went out and we're happy it landed safe. And now we're trying to get them to come to the Wisdom of the Sages retreat. So if that's the case, you know who's leading Kirtan Saturday night is 11-year-old Karuna, who is the Kirtan master herself. So that's really exciting. Yeah, and I want to say it's gearing up for the holidays. If anybody's interested in getting a case of my books, that's 10 books, we can give you a special discount of the wholesale price. So contact me and or reach out to Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com and we can do that for you. It's a great way if you're on the spiritual journey and you want to give that spiritual journey to others, to friends that maybe could relate to it, but don't necessarily want to read a scripture like you're preaching to them. They could find themselves on their spiritual journey, reading about other people's spiritual journey. And speaking about spiritual journeys, our special guest today has a great story, and I'm really interested. I've heard about him, and I've wanted to pick his brain for a long time, and we sort of met in Mayapur briefly during our Wisdom of the Sages retreat in Mayapur in February. But we didn't get to lock him down, and now we've captured him, and he's live from Mayapur today. Hrdaya Caitanya, welcome to the show.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for inviting. Very happy to be here. Very honored.
Oh, well, we are Hrdaya Caitanya lives in Mayapur. He's from France, and he's just got one of these like amazing lives. And I love to pick the brains of people who their journey to Krishna consciousness. And he started off with this commitment to walk to Vrindavan. You grew up in Paris?
No, I grew up in Dijon, which is a like small city south from Paris.
Dijon, okay.
Right. Yeah.
And at a young age, why don't you tell us about your coming to Krishna consciousness? You're a musician, you're a farmer, you're a builder. You said you're building your house right now, and you're a father of 2, and you're living in Mayapur. So tell us about like coming to Krishna consciousness, and then I want to pick your brain about walking to Vrindavan from France.
So the first contact with the devotees are like the seed in my mind.
Maybe the seed in your mind, because let's face it, it's not like we came out of the womb saying, I want to be a Hare Krishna, most of us. It's sort of like we have like, we're getting sort of led or getting some calling. I can honestly say that, Christianity also led me to bhakti in a lot of ways. So yeah, give a little backstory of how you grew up. What was it like growing up? Please.
Well, I grew up in a Catholic family, very traditional Catholic family with like a strong background in theology, philosophy, and everything. Because my father is a philosophy teacher, so I got that practice every Sunday, every day, every evening. So we really grew up in this atmosphere. So that's probably what we would call the first bhakti samskar, I think, because every evening we would pray all together and like surrender everything to God. So I had this presence in my life since I was born, basically. So God is not something that came later in my life, at least as a concept. But I would say my first contact with I mean, where it all started towards the Vedic system is in Australia when I was trying to do busking. Do you say busking as well in
Yeah,
America?
busking is when you
Right.
play music on the streets, right?
Yeah. Because I was living in Cambodia at that time and I was kind of like living in the jungle trying to start a farming project and I had no money left. So I went to Australia. I have an uncle there and I tried to make some money in the street, but it didn't work out. So
How
my
old were you?
uncle, I
How
was
old?
19.
19. All right.
And so he sent me to the Blue Mountains, which is an amazing place. And there's a retreat center. It's a Buddhist retreat center with a reputation of being very strict, extremely strict. It's 10 days retreat and you meditate 12 hours a day. And that's where I got my first mantras and teachings from very close to the Vedantic teachings, I would say, to some aspect, except that there's no God, but all the rest in terms of metaphysics and everything is close to the Vedanta. So I got my
Right.
first insight about this. And this particular meditation technique completely changed my life, like really.
Mm.
And then later on, maybe really bad with timelines, but I would say 3 years later, I was hitchhiking in Europe and I ended up in Switzerland in the something called the Bhakti Festival. And Prem Prayojan Prabhu, for those who know
Yep.
him, was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Love him.
And he was and at that time I was kind of studying Sanskrit more for semantic interest. I'm very fond of languages. And I was using the Bhagavad Gita as a medium to study Sanskrit, the grammar. And then
Mm.
I saw this Prem Prayojan Prabhu on the stage, and he was just reading remembering the Bhagavad Gita and saying the verses out loud without any books. And
Mm.
then he translated it to English, and I realized that there was much more in the Bhagavad Gita than just grammar, right?
Sure.
so I, so I started really,
And he's
and then
such a charismatic and powerful speaker as well.
yeah, an incredible memory. I mean, he can remember
Incredible memories. It's really
loads of
great.
shastras.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were friends when he was a brahmachari, young brahmachari. When I was a
Okay.
young brahmachari, that's how I know him. But I haven't
Oh,
really
wow,
spoken
great.
to him in many years, really. Just some text messages. So
Such
go
a
go on.
scholar.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, no, no worries. And then I realized that there was actually an ashram, a sangha in the city where I grew up in Dijon. So
In
there's
Dijon.
there's
Oh.
uh there's a Prabhu there called Udhav. He's my first guru basically. He's amazing, so
Mm.
humble. And I started attending kirtans every week and trying to get acquainted with the teachings. But I have a lot of, how do you say, it's very difficult for me to trust anything. At that time, it was difficult for me to trust anything that resembles religion, basically. So anything that would drag me back to religious concepts, I was kind of like keeping my distance.
Is
I
that
really
because
wanted to
of
make sure. Yeah.
is that because of the Buddhist training where you're sort of pulled yourself out of like conventional Abrahamic traditions, or did you have some bad experience?
Well, I skipped the part where when I was 8 years old, I was doing some speeches in the church and doing scandal in front of everyone.
Wait,
When
what?
I was uh, yeah, it's kind of difficult to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. But when I was very young, like 7 or 8 years old, I would already kind of criticize the dogma in front of
I see.
everyone in the church.
Oh, okay.
So I've
You
always had a problem with conventional faith, definitely. But
sure you had a
yeah,
critical, discerning mind. It's a good thing to have.
yeah, and probably very immature as well
Sure.
at that
Yeah.
time. But so yeah, no, I've always had a problem with what I call like kind of cheap faith or especially therapeutical faith, like something the faith that you use to heal you or feel good. I'm more
Sure.
into I think I have a strong Gyanik bias. So
Sure.
for 3 or 4 years I was turning around the kirtans and the sangha and getting more teachings. And one day I just, I mean, I'm skipping a lot of details of obviously, but I decided to take that vow, which was a vow that was in my mind since I was 12 years old. Actually, I woke up one morning when I was 12 and I told my mother, mother, anyway, I won't do any study or anything because one day I will have to remove my shoes, empty my pockets, and walk until I find the truth.
You said that when
And
you were 12?
yeah, and it was very interesting phenomenon because every year it would happen more or less around the same date. And every year I would completely forget about this. Like it
Wow.
wasn't something really in my mind. But one morning every year I would wake up and be like, my life didn't start yet. That was my strong conviction. Nothing started yet. Everything is just a rehearsal right now. Like it will
Wow.
start when I will leave everything and actually go.
Mara, I
Mm.
didn't tell you this, Mara, but as I was reading his bio, his history, I was like, this guy must have been doing stuff from previous lives. You don't come into this world with these type of samskaras. It's unless you've been on this trajectory for a while. And I think it's sometimes safe to say that people in the path of bhakti, it's like they've been searching and hunting for God, maybe for lifetimes. But when I hear your story, it becomes like this one for sure. At 12, when most people are, you know, uh, you know, playing with slot cars or, um, uh, you know, obsessed with the girl in class or, things of that nature, of the playful nature or sports or something like that. You get this God quest with inside you. I will say that my family too, especially when I was really young, they would have that. We'd sit down. We had big 7 kids in our family. We'd sit down after a meal and during Lent, and we'd chant Rosary um, after dinner, and we'd sit there and chant. I don't know how much we did, and I can barely remember it. But there was like my samskaras, my impressions about spirituality were not mixed with that much shame or anything like that. It was sort of a positive thing. It definitely had maybe a little bit twist of a fear-based thing, but also sort of a piety thing. It sounds like your experience with God from your family was of this, not a sadistic, brutal God who's sitting there waiting for you to screw up. It sounds very positive, at least whether your parents presented it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, yeah. It's more like the surroundings with which it was a bit like the Samskar were different, but my parents are I have huge gratitude towards my parents, especially after what I have I mean what they've been through because of me when I was a teenager. So I have even more gratitude now, but I realized that yeah, they really have done their best and yeah, I mean, God has been something like a well-wishing presence, definitely, 100%.
We're going to say a little prayer to all the parents right now, an appreciation prayer for all the hell we put you through when we were all
Definitely.
teenagers.
Yeah.
Everybody who's listening live right now, you can put up the worst thing you did to your parents on the message board. Okay, continue on. Hrdaya.
Yeah, I would say my experience overall was quite positive. Um, but I think there's no intense quest without suffering. So
Mm,
I must say I've been through intense and lasting existential suffering, like suffering that led me really, really deep into despair.
mm,
And it never manifested as depression or being static. Like I've always been a bit of a hyperactive, doing 1,000 stuff, but there was really this strong, strong suffering of what am I doing here? None of what life offers me is interesting for me, and I have no interest in just pursuing the usual thing. But and even religion wasn't really satisfying for me, and I felt terrible because I felt I was so lucky. I had everything I wanted basically.
mm.
So I purposely created some difficulty on my way because I felt like I had to deserve something.
Oh, that's interesting.
and and this existential crisis went really far. Like I mean, like many of us probably, but I tried a lot of drugs. I tried some like extended period of time just trying to find find the answer, like solve this huge void inside of myself, right? But in one sense, the main feeling I had for 10 or 15 years was postponing. I felt everything I was doing was just postponing the actual face to face with what I was looking for for this life, right? So we do I felt like doing all kinds of stuff just to postpone the
Mm.
moment where I will have to face the fact that no, I have to go and just surrender everything as much as I can and just make this kind of bet with God. And that's exactly what I did. I said, if you exist, you have till India to show your face. And then I promise, like, I promise, but I promise absolutely that I will give you at least this life. I can't promise for the next one because I have no idea what's going on afterwards, but this life will be 100% dedicated to you if you show
Mm.
your face. And if you don't show your face, I don't ever want to hear about God anymore. Like I want to completely remove it from my life, even this very idea. And I mean, I was hoping, if you use numbers, I was probably hoping for 60 and I got 70,000, right? Like I got way
Wow.
above any of my expectations. I mean, honestly speaking, it's the culmination points of my pilgrimage in the desert in Iran was just I'm still flying because of it, you know. It's
Wow.
been 5 years and I'm not really came down, you know.
I want to jump in quick because that sort of condition you made with God, I think, I mean, I can honestly say in my life, and maybe this can resonate with people. It's sort of like I got to this place on my own personal journey that I pray, please God, show me the way. And then when you get like the reciprocation, okay, here's the way.
Mm.
And it's gonna take some pruning of your attachments, pruning of your ego. It's almost okay, God. Now I want you to go away. You showed me too much. I'm not ready. Actually, not ready for this. Please, can you climb under a rock for a while, God? While I can try other things too. It's almost like uh, God does reciprocate with your desire, and then we don't realize we're not ready for this. I'm really,
Yeah.
really attached to these things I thought I wasn't attached to.
Right.
All right. So
It's
when
so
did
true.
when did the journey, the walk to God, and you were already into bhakti at this point. Um,
No,
did I
I
jump
wouldn't say I
ahead?
was I'm sorry?
Did I jump ahead?
No, 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 whatever. I'm actually very glad to follow your questions. It's easier for me to go like
Okay.
this.
Talk about your walking and why walk? Why not just fly? Why not take a bus? Why walk?
Well, I think this is my strong French bias. Like I'm a huge fan of these ancient traditions where people would give up everything and walk to Jerusalem with a bag of ashes on their head. You know, I had this strong I don't know, I'm very fascinated by this. So and I have a tendency to never choose the balance, the medium. I'm always going for extreme. That's something that is a
Uh,
bit exhausting for my wife and my surroundings as well. I have this tendency to always do things in a very extreme way.
I can relate.
So,
Yeah,
so the walking was, I mean, walking is a meditation. Everyone that tried it knows that, right? It's extremely
sure.
powerful. And also I needed the digestion's process. Like you can't flying is kind of cheating with the natural laws, like
Sure.
the physical and temporal laws that kind of like they create this ecosystem within you that needs to evolve at a certain pace, and we're cheating with the space when we fly. So yeah, walking was mainly for this, and also to add a bit of challenge, I guess, because challenge will also trigger so many things in me. And
Mm.
I knew I needed time, a lot of time. You know, I expected 3 or 4 years actually to reach India. I knew I needed that much time to really clean myself. And my main motto was, I walk, you work. So implied, I'm not doing anything anymore. I'm not even trying to think about God anymore. If God exists, the only thing I'm gonna do is make myself available. So,
What did you
you know,
carry? I want details. Did you carry a lot? Did you carry nothing? You know.
no, I did carry some basic stuff. I had a tarp and I had a tent until Armenia, and then just slept on my tarp in the desert because I couldn't put my tent in the sand.
Yeah.
So I had a tent. I had a few cloths that were stolen after 1 month in Italy anyway. So I had to find new cloth. I woke up one morning with my underwear, right? and a few needles and a few stuff to like fix my bag. And then when I got to Georgia after 1 year, I guess, I realized I would have to carry a lot of water in the desert because I had almost 2,200 kilometers of desert to cross. And so
It's
what I
almost
built is
laughable. It's almost
I built
laughable.
a wooden cart, right? Like with some of my friend in Georgia, he built a little cart that I would carry. I'll send you a picture if it's pretty cool. This object is really cool in itself.
Oh, please
And I
send.
found some little metal wheels from the Russian USSR, right?
Mm.
And so I had this from Georgia to the end of Iran. I was carrying this little cart. I could carry up to 18 liters of water on this.
You were pushing
Uh,
a cart through the desert.
I was dragging it. I had a big belt, a leather belt, and I was dragging it. Yeah, yeah. I had to because there was no water there. So
Imagine if I
yeah.
said to some people, okay, you want to find God, you got to push a cart through the desert for 24 hours. People would be like, no, no, I'm not doing that.
But I had to do it for 3 months.
Three
But
months through the desert. How do you find food in the desert? What did you eat?
it depends. Like when you go through a village, people would give me some bread and I would keep it for 2 or 3 days. Otherwise, you always figure it out. It's always sometimes you don't eat so much for sure, but
There is a beauty of destitution where you can't lean into your Amex card. You can't lean into, your supply that you've saved, that you put away for safety when you actually have nothing. There's a beauty of that
yeah,
takes
there's
care of you. You see the
mm,
reciprocation in the same way the animals are taken care of. It may not come as quick as you want it. Like it's not fast food you're getting necessarily, but it's in God's time. You're taken care of and you're nurtured. And we've created a culture where you're hungry, grab a bar. You're hungry, just go into the pantry and grab some food.
mm,
There's something about simple living before prepackaged food even where you sometimes you got to wait to eat. And
mm.
in that sort of destitution, we would call it now, previously just call it living, you see God's hand in things a lot. So you've really prepared yourself a landscape to sort of invite God into your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting that like we surround ourselves with so many facilities and so many solutions to provide things very quick, and then we say, "Oh, God never helped me," or "God is not here." But we don't make any space for God to appear. So if we actually accept to have needs, then we will got like millions of evidence. But the modern world is really it's designed in a way that we don't see this evidence anymore because everything is provided all the time, constantly.
We don't see God's hand in anything. Yeah. Just
Exactly,
even going through
because
the
it's yeah.
villages, like where you live in Mayapur, and you go see these earthen homes with thatched roofs and a cow that's part of the family. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
I get it. Everything has been provided. Look at how nature provides the cow dung for the fertilization, the earth for the building of the cottage, the straw that grows.
Mm.
And the first time I saw simple village life walking through the fields of Mayapur when I first traveled through Mayapur and all the neighboring villages, I was just like, oh, there is a God out there. You don't need because I was fascinated by the buildings and the structures of man in the cities. And I was thinking,
Mm.
yeah, man, look what man has done. But say,
Mm.
wow, look what God has done. And there's an energy you get from man's creation. Like when you go to New York City, when you cross the George Washington Bridge over the Hudson River, you're like, oh, man, like, look what we've done here. This is amazing. And you get a different energy when you walk into a jungle, a forest, the Grand Canyon, or when you see how man uses nature in a real simple way, like you see the pueblos, or you see the thatched roofs, or you see very simple simple living or simple tools, or where me and Mara live, where we see like these Shaker villages, how They become stewards of nature, not like they're trying to just like conquer nature, but stewards of nature, and see these, beautiful working with nature, stuff that you can see that modern society must go back to, because we've built a huge, huge metropolises with no foundation whatsoever. It can't sustain itself. When we go to these like Shaker villages where we live, we say, "Oh, these guys were expert at stewarding the landscape, building these massive retaining walls and making ponds and moving waterways and farming and building furniture." And we've lost out on that connection to nature. We're just like, I'm just going to order this on Amazon. It's getting shipped in from China. It's made out of fabric that we don't even know how they make this stuff anymore. It's plasticine or built with petroleum, or we're wearing clothes of petroleum. We're so divorced almost from God's hand in things that it's very easy. We've almost created a culture to forget God.
It's true. Solely true.
Or so
Because the
continue on.
structure
Your
of
walk.
it is,
Yeah. Continue
my
on. Your walk.
Guruji said that the jiva naturally rejoices at the sight of jiva, and in concrete there's no jivas. And I really love it, because I really think it matters. There's jivas in the earth, and and jiva recognizes jiva, and we rejoice, and we see other jivas because we're the same shakti, we're the same energy. So I think being in nature is more than just an aesthetic consideration.
Now, I'm going to just jump around here. You said you were with how old are you now?
I'm 29.
You're 29, and
Yeah.
you're married with 2 children.
Yeah. I'm with the same, I'm with my wife since we're 14. So
Since you're
like
14.
yeah, it's been a while. It's already been a while, even though I'm not only 30. I'm not even 30, sorry.
All
But
right.
we got married, we got married, like, again, I'm very bad with timelines, but probably 3 years ago. And my youngest son has 1.5 year. So
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing. So she was like, okay, good luck on your journey. And so now you're walking through the desert, and what happens?
Well, that's the end of the pilgrimage, right? It's like where everything culminated for me. There's loads of adventures before that, but
Oh, okay. And if there's any spiritual adventures, it's not like only spiritual adventures happen in India. There cannot be any spiritual adventures anywhere
oh
else.
no,
If
there's
there's
plenty
something you want to
before.
share about another particular place where you had like definitive spiritual.
Hmm. I couldn't hear the end of your sentence because it's lagging a little bit, but
Oh, I apologize.
yeah,
You mentioned this phrase, God, show your face.
right.
So was there any other place you'd like to mention that stood out where God showed his face?
Yeah, I have to select among so many because for me it was such a rich experience. But
Mm.
well, one of my first meeting, and I actually started working with my wife, my fiance at the time, and Francesco di Assisi, this amazing
Yeah.
saint from, yeah, right. So we started on his steps, like towards his city to Assisi, and we met this. How do you pronounce that in English? The Hermite. Can you say Hermite?
Hermite.
Hermit.
Mara?
Uh,
Oh, hermit.
Hermit.
Yeah.
Hermit.
Hermit. Sorry. So like a lonely monk that lives in the hills. And honestly speaking, if I tell you the whole story, first of all, it'll be too long, but also it'll sound like I'm making things up because it's just too crazy.
That's the
But
nature of these spiritual stories. It's like unbelievable.
but it was completely crazy. Like I just remember we walked more than 42 kilometers during the day, and we took a shower in a waterfall. It was just like a dream. And then we went to that green hill, and just behind the green hill there was this little wood house, and this guy came out, and he almost said, "I was waiting for you." It's like a movie, seriously.
Wow.
And we got in, and he started serving vegetables from his garden, and he had this hands, and he would touch my shoulders sometimes
Mm.
from behind. and his hands were burning, but like burning like a stove. It was crazy. And he started saying stuff that as if he knew me for like 40 years, but really. And then I went to the window and he
Like
said,
he like read your mind, you're saying? Or he
it
understood
was
you
very
or
it was very subtle. It was like he said exactly the things that I needed to hear, as if he knew exactly where I was coming from.
sure.
And my inner life is quite complex. It's quite rare for me to meet someone who actually seems to like, where I have the feeling that this person is grasp what I'm experiencing. I guess it's the case for most of us, right?
Mm.
But this guy was like, that was incredible. And he took my hand and he said, what did he say exactly? Because that was a bit long, but I'm going to try to summarize it. But basically, he said, never doubt the journey. Like, whatever happens tomorrow and the day after, you made the right choice and you're walking towards the light, basically. And he was a Christian monk. I just told him I was walking to a Hindu destination. He could have
Mm.
tried to convert me like
Sure.
everyone else tried the rest of the time, because I've been
Sure.
converted 30,000 times afterwards, right? By Muslim, by Orthodox, by Catholic, by everyone. But this guy just, he was so, he was saving his words to say just very essential things. It was amazing. And I really felt like confirmed, in my intention. I felt like it was the first sign that told me you did the right choice. You
Wow.
really did the right choice. And I remember I had this dream every night for like 3 4 months. And it also sounds a little bit like a movie. That's why I'm going to say it, because it's funny. But just before I made the first step as a symbol and for the pilgrimage, I threw my last, I was smoking, so I threw my last one,
Okay.
and it did like this in the air. And
Yeah.
when it touched the ground,
Yeah.
this kind of sequence just went back and forth in my mind for months every night. And as soon as it touches the ground, it's like it's a new birth. Like I feel like I've been delivered once again.
Wow.
It's very, very weird to explain, but it's like something has started, much more than
Sure.
just an astrological period. It's like you're actually being born again right now, as soon as
Sure.
it touches the ground.
It's like a whole new chapter. It's like an end of
Yeah,
one chapter and a beginning of another chapter.
yeah, and yeah, completely being renewed, and this I don't know why, but this cigarette touching the ground was just kind of like an explosion, boom, and something starts, and here we go. So this
So
hermit was the first very, very strong, powerful meeting I had, and I really
you know,
felt the hand of God, like definitely.
there's definitive people that God sends to us, whether they're
That's true.
in people to transform me or make me think a different way. And this sounds like this person was sent to you like this.
Yeah, it was exactly. It's you feel so much mercy because you feel like it's the main definition I had of God at that time was it's too good to be true. Whatever
Yes.
you think is too good to be true, that's actually what God is doing. And we think we have to deserve, we have to hope stronger, we have to blah blah blah, but actually the deepest hope we have, they're being embodied in God. And these people coming to me is saying these things. I felt so much gratitude, and this gratitude is still kind of echoing in my life right now. And
Mm,
it's carrying me every day. Like, and yeah. And the second experience I can maybe talk about was in Turkey, which is
okay.
like a land that is really deep in my heart. And I remember being invited to a Sufi party, like a huge dancing night with
Really?
the whole family. Was really the disciples of Mevlana. I don't know if you know Mevlana. It's very powerful Dervish Sufi tradition.
I d-
And at the end of
Okay.
the night, they said, "We'll bring you to our master." And this master turned out to be a very famous person, like all over the world, actually. And I was so excited. I was in my pilgrim position, so I was really here to hear and learn, and I was so excited. So we went there, and they kept calling him Efendim. And Efendim, one of the meaning of Efendim means servant, and they would call their master Efendim. And when we got to this huge hole, and so this master comes to me, and he sat me on the sofa, like in
Wow.
front of everyone, and he sat down, and I was extremely embarrassed, but like
Sure.
terribly embarrassed. And he started asking me questions, and I was a little boy. I was like, I'm still a little boy, by the way, but I was like like a 23 years old guy, completely lost, just looking for God, right? And I was
Mm,
so embarrassed, and it was in Turkish, so it was even harder. I didn't have so many people to translate the words and stuff, but I did it because I felt it would be very impolite to just go
sure.
away. I tried, and it sat me back. And at the end, on the spot, it was quite uncomfortable. It was actually very uncomfortable because I felt like I was in the wrong spot. But then when I left, and weeks later, and more as weeks would pass on, I realized that he teach me so much that day, like so much about very embarrassing part of myself as well. Like,
Mm,
like you think you're a pilgrim, you think you're working on your humility and everything, but how much do you actually enjoy being in the position of the one who is admired?
mm,
And that was like very deep for me, very very deep. It kind of struck me, and gave a new direction to my uh yeah, to my inner effort during this pilgrimage. So this was this master, famous, international famous, just take this random guy and ask him to this was like a sign of humility from him. It was amazing. So it gave me this strong, now when I see a sannyasi who's giving his pranam to a kid, I just want to
mm.
run in his arm and just hear what he has to say. It became a very powerful sign for me. Mm.
Yeah, sometimes we're so steeped in our own arrogance and our self-absorption that we don't even notice it. We think that's just normal. And
Mm.
once we start walking that spiritual journey, it's almost like the alcoholic who doesn't realize he's an alcoholic. And
Right.
they're going on just drinking alcohol, say at 9 in the morning, and they're thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's normal. And they've set such a low standard for normal. And it's only when you start to realize and meet people who are saying, hey, man, I don't think you should be drinking alcohol at 9 a.m. I don't think that's good.
Mm.
I don't think that's a good sign. And once they get that thing, like, this is not a good thing, that self-reflection or that self-realization doesn't just mean I see my spiritual self. It means I'm witnessing this false self that I've been carrying around since I was a child, and it's ugly. That was my first realization coming to Vrindavan as a 22-year-old. Like, I am so ugly. I've been presenting myself thinking it was so cool, and it's actually
Mm.
ugly. And I've never could step outside myself to see that. And this is the gift of inviting evolved people, because they're not
Right.
chastising you or humiliating you. They're just living a life different, from a higher caliber. And when you see that, you're like, oh man, what is up with me? And it's that wake up. It's
Mm.
almost like the universe is giving an intervention, like an
Totally. Yeah.
intervention to make you see yourself in reality.
Right.
So that beautiful. Why did you have a strong calling as Turkey, or as like a holy place or a special place? What was your? How did that resonate with you?
Well, imagining 3 months walking on the side of the Black Sea coast in the
Mm,
mountains,
yeah.
almost no one, and everyone you meet, like the few people you meet, are absolutely amazing. They feed you, they love you, they give you a bed, they welcome you whoever you are. They don't even ask questions anymore.
Wow.
They have this strong Muslim love, like universal love. And if you're a guest, they call it misafir, like musafir. And
Mm,
it's a such a beautiful tradition where whoever you are, if you have a backpack and you look lost, they will invite you, feed you, and not even preach you. So that was so precious. And
right.
yeah,
You
just
just feel loved.
yeah, so much. And the landscapes, the peace, the language is amazing. I love this language as well. And yeah, everything was so beautiful. And the Kangals, these huge dogs that they have over there. It
Mm,
also, like, I'm very afraid of dogs originally, and I had to fight with dogs almost every day over there. So for me, it's been
Wait, you had a fight with dogs
very
where?
in Turkey. There's dogs everywhere, and they attack you. They actually attack you.
Oh, really? God,
So
I'm scared of dogs too.
yeah, I mean, for me, it was really tough because I almost got killed like 2 or 3 times by like 20 dogs at the same time, trying to not trying to scare you, trying to actually eat you, you
Trying to
know?
actually eat you.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah, like really, you know. And some one day I was even saved by a timberman who came down the forest and shoot them with guns, you know, because that's
Are
the
they
only way you
wild dogs?
can.
Or are they people's dogs?
No, no, wild dogs, wild dogs.
Oh God.
So that and well, that's not a really good answer to your question because it doesn't make Turkey very charming. But this contrast between the charm of people and all the experience I had there and these dogs for me was such it made me grew up so much because I had to go
Sure.
over my fear every day, you know. So I have this and it's also in
Oh,
Turkey that I
I
started.
understand. You are
Mhm.
walking alone through these barren areas and you're walking into packs of wolves, basically.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
facing all, yeah, that is a great way to sort of like
yeah. You know, have no choice. You
learn
can't
to
go back,
trust God.
and you can only go ahead. And I'm terrified by dogs, so they only I had to trust something higher because I really felt like I would die every day, you know. So yeah,
How many days was that walk?
Turkey was 3 months, and I think I
Gosh.
had one episode with a dog every 2 days minimum.
Yeah.
So it was a constant thing, like constantly I had to
I am very
get him, like you know.
I am very dog conscious, and Marabs privately wrote me on the message board. Remember when you faced off with that pack of wild dogs on the beach in Goa? Well, let me share this because I have so much fear in dogs. I heard a bunch of dogs like behind me, like a bunch of different dogs. It was an
Mm.
early morning Japa walk, and I was like, "Meryl, let's get out of here." I turn around, and it is a pack of like Labrador puppies that
Puppies
are
were
just
so cute.
I was so scared.
They were like rolling and tumbling with each other.
They're just like rolling around, playing in the sand. But yeah, and anyway, that's one way to face off with fear. Although I did get chased by a pack of dogs in Vrindavan when I was 22,
Mm.
walking around Vrindavan, and somehow I escaped. But it is scary. I was attacked by a dog when I was 5. They German Shepherd punctured my
Oh yeah,
skin.
these are
Yeah.
nasty.
So anyway, let's hear how you got to India because we're running out of time, and I really want to.
Right. So I entered Iran.
Hold it a second. You just posted a picture of a Kungal dog. I was
Yeah,
like,
Oh
that's
my
a
maybe he's
kind of.
God.
mentioning some dog I've never heard. And he just posted a picture. This is not a dog, people. This is like a
It's like a
bear.
horse.
It's like a bear. It is
They're
like
actually
over your head.
they're used to hunt bears. So yeah, they're big.
Yeah.
They're really big.
I was getting chased by puppies. I got bit by a German Shepherd. I got chased by a bunch of junkyard dogs in Vrindavan, transcendental junkyard dogs. But this is like getting chased by a pack of bears.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were really
they would
scary.
have eaten you. I don't know how. Anyway, I want to get off the dog subject because I'll just get back into fear and anxiety. Can we talk about Vrindavan for a second?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if we told that already, but I got kind of kicked out of Iran when I got to the south. They refused to give me the extra month visa that I needed to reach Pakistan through the Balochistan.
Oh God.
So that was probably the biggest feeling of failure in my entire life because I gave my life to this vow. Nothing else mattered at the time, and I felt like I was pushed out of my vow and forced to not complete it, not fulfill it.
And for
So, but
some
anyway,
legal reason, they wouldn't let you do it.
yeah, legal reasons, and Pakistani border is kind of difficult to cross walking. There's a lot of backstory to the Pakistan, like my relationship with Pakistani friends over there through the mafia, and because anyway, it's a long story, but there's people that would protect me there, and they gave me some tips to like cross the border. So I was very determined to go all the way to Pakistan, but really the authorities just prevented me to do so. So I had to fly to Vrindavan, And I arrived in Vrindavan with a terrible feeling of failure with my fiance at the time. Well, she was my wife currently, and we arrived there, and from then on, it was what I would call my honeymoon with bhakti, like fully absorbed and completely fascinated by all the teachings and not interested by anything else anymore. It was much more difficult for my wife at the time, especially
Yeah.
Vrindavan in winter is can be a bit austere, and we had no money,
Yeah.
so we had to kind of survive as we could.
But
And
what a
then
way
I
to enter Vrindavan. Not in a big chartered bus, but like sort of like I'm
yeah,
destitute. I'm
yeah,
trying my hardest to get to you. There's certain things that like that are out of my hands. Like I walked there, but they're out of my hands. The government won't let me through, and I'm
yeah.
here.
That
What
was
a
the
great way
biggest
to.
gift I got, is to arrive in Vrindavan as a loser and not as a winner, because many,
Ooh,
like some people heard of me in Vrindavan is were kind of like waiting for me in one sense, like the French guy who walked all the way to India. And there's no way your ego cannot catch, like, catch this and kind of use this energy to feed on. So
wow.
I think it's the biggest gift I got, is to arrive there as a loser, as an unknown, because I wasn't proud. I wouldn't tell people, oh yeah, I came. Well, no, I didn't come walking. Actually, I tried,
You know
So it was,
what?
yeah,
That is such a beautiful statement. I came as a loser. And it's just a beautiful way because hey, how much ego can get wrapped up in the fact that, yeah, I walked to India.
yeah,
And then
definitely.
Krishna, out of your sincerity, said, no, you didn't. You didn't quite
Exactly.
make it. And
Yeah,
that is beautiful. What
yeah.
a beautiful realization.
Because I kind of asked him to take everything from me as much as possible to make me available, empty. Like my main theme was emptiness, and he took even my vow. Even this he took it. So I could arrive really naked in Vrindavan, and that was extremely powerful. Honestly, maybe even
Oh,
probably more powerful than anything else. And when you're a pilgrim, at least when you identify as a pilgrim, your main work is to be humble and to, like, I would say, exchange the bread that people give you and give them light in exchange, but as humble as possible. And the
sure,
problem is, every single day people project their admiration on you and their fascination. So it's extremely difficult to remain humble, because every single day people tell you, oh, this is amazing what you're doing. I'm
sure,
dreaming about doing this. So your ego is slowly appreciating this and kind of like getting a taste of
sure.
this. So I
Wow.
had to find ways around, and I made this huge list. I still have it on my notebook. I have this list of names of every single people that fed me. And every evening, instead of just meditating on how amazing of a pilgrim I was, I would read this list every evening for the next like year. And I would read the list and remember every face and remember everyone and be like, this is only because of those people that I'm here. Nothing because of me, right?
What a beautiful meditation. That appreciation that you demonstrated and that you demonstrate is such a significant limb of bhakti, if not the whole foundation of bhakti, is like I have what I have by the mercy of others. And I immediately can tell this spiritual adhikari or the spiritual qualification a person has just by the way they speak of other people. It's something that just
Mm.
shines. And when people just say, you know, not like that they're self-deprecating, but they just the way they talk about other people in deep appreciation, it's just a sign of their spiritual evolution. And this story, I could go about at least a few more hours with you. Can I just say that maybe you can come and just give a little class when we have our Mayapur pilgrimage, and we'll get all the pilgrims to come and meet you, and we could share, we can have conversation, and we can break bread together, break some chapatis together. Would that be okay?
The chapati part, definitely. The class part, I'm not like, I don't exactly know what you mean by class, but I would be very happy to learn from you guys and have a conversation, definitely like a sharing. But
Oh,
I don't really know what a class would be, because I'm really not, you know, qualified
well,
for anything like this. But like sharing with you and learning from you, I'm looking forward to this actually.
Prabhu, thank you very much for joining us today. Sorry our time is running out, but I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better, meet you in Mayapur. We're going to go to Mayapur at the end of our Wisdom of the Sages training. If you're interested, that's on our website, wisdomofthesages.com. I really want to thank, on behalf of everybody, Hrdaya Caitanya for joining us live from Mayapur. Your example has been quite stellar, my friend, and so many lessons I can learn just from hearing you speak. And what a great contribution you've given to the podcast. Keep doing what you're doing, Prabhu. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live. Sorry we mixed up the time today. I'm traveling. No show tomorrow. We're back on for Tuesday at 7 a.m. Looking forward to seeing everybody for the Wisdom of the Sages retreat this weekend. It's our last retreat at the farm. We got so many of our friends in our community coming. And Jai Shri Krishna. I have to go. I have to go, but thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful day, every beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow. Thank you, Hrdaya.